Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. No matter what generation you belong to, whether you're a millennial, you're a Gen X, or a baby boomer, you're going to want to watch at least a portion of WowBiz Nebraska. This particular show is targeting our message and our advice to you based upon the generation that you're a part of and relating it, of course, to this great unfolding 9-10 months now of the whole pandemic, kind of thinking about what we're all playing the external game for the last 6 or 8 months, but now we are playing the internal game, the mind game. What's going on psychologically, and what are you doing with your values, essentially, as you kind of evolve from an employee to an owner to a manager and so on. That's what we're talking about today. It's always unusual right here at WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Thank you so much for watching. Now, let's take a good look at what's going on the first half of this show. If you are in your 20s and you are working, if you're in your 30s or in your 40s, you're going to want to pay special attention to what we're going to do today in the first half of WowBiz Nebraska. It's kind of interactive. It's kind of a gamey thing, type of participation and so on. If you are in your 50s, your 60s, or your 70s, you've kind of come through a large portion of your career and you're wondering what's next, you want to make sure that you are around for the last half of today's show here at WowBiz Nebraska. You'll have special resonance with the message I'm going to share with you at that time. So I'm so happy to see all of you. The other day, by the way, I was at a grocery store. I was picking up some things on the way home, and a gentleman came up to me and said, "Are you Lynn?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I just want you to know how much I enjoy WowBiz Nebraska. I never miss the show." I was so flattered, of course, and I have no idea how many viewers exactly we have here, but that was he said, "It's so interesting. Every show, every week," I asked him, I said, what do you like about the show? He said, "It's always interesting." And of course, he said, "You're such an energetic presenter and passionate about your message." And he said, I just never miss the show. So I hope there are a lot of people like that. I want to thank you, Joe, for chatting with me about that, and it really reinforced what we're doing right here on this show, trying to be transformational, really trying to lift the bar. All right, let's talk for a second. I'll begin with a short anecdote, but all of you who are youngish, you might want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil if you have one laying around, or you can pull out your smartphone and prepare to take some notes, because this is really a moment for you to think and make decisions about who you are right now in the next few minutes. When I was a kid, I grew up on the farm over in central Iowa, and I got involved with the 4-H organization, the Extension Service, and so on. I'm sure you know a little bit about that, but that was an important part of my life as a farm kid and going throughout my youth. And things evolved for me inside that organization. And so when I got to be 17, 18, I was actually nominated to receive an award. I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't expect to win anything, and I had to fill out some paperwork, which was kind of a drag, and I didn't really get into the process too much. But eventually, I went with my parents to a large gymnasium, and there were a lot of people there, as I recall. And there was an award that was being given that particular night by the Danforth Foundation down in St. Louis, Missouri. They no longer exist, by the way, but the name of the award was Dare to Be Great, the Dare to Be Great Award. And they went around the country and gave out this, it was a plaque and I think a small scholarship or whatever. And they would give it to young folks around the entire country. And of course, they were nominated by various adults in the community. Anyway, long story short, I won that award. I was given that award. And I'll never forget, it really was a surprise. And so I went up to the podium and I was given this plaque. And this notion of Dare to Be Great really resonated with me. Of course, the whole idea was avoid mediocrity, right? That's the whole concept behind this little story is whatever you do something, do it excellence, take it to the next level. Try to make something special and lasting about it. Make sure that it's a reflection of who you really are. Don't worry about fitting into the system. Jump out of the system if necessary. Whatever you have to do to create greatness. That was the gist of the whole thing, and I really bought into it 100%. Anyway, of course, decades go by, and today we are in a very interesting situation with these young folks, young employees at businesses, whether they're accounting firms, manufacturing plants, or whatever. Millennials, we'll say, are really going through a tough time. They're very intense. They work very hard. And the way they grew up, they believed, have kind of come to believe, that work is pretty much everything, and what you accomplish and how you succeed in work will determine your level of happiness and self-esteem and sense of fulfillment, etc. Now, as it turns out, and you probably have heard a little bit about this, there's a lot of mental health issues among younger employees this day. They're really struggling and are unhappy in their job. 43% of all millennials are planning on leaving. 1 out of 5 young men in that age category have actually considered suicide, believe it or not. And I hate to bring that kind of a statistic up, but it makes the point that this generation is struggling with work and career. And if you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that really it's their value system and who they think they are, their self-identity, and of course their self-esteem is rather low, and they just can't figure out how to get traction in their career in such a way that they'll feel good about themselves. Much less greatness, all right? Now, when things happen in their world that are really excellent, they use a different word, not great, but they use the word epic. That's really an epic TV show. It's an epic car. It's an epic experience, whatever. The word epic comes up a lot, and it has for several years in popular culture. So I'm going to change that dare to be great notion, and we're going to try to work together. Right now, we're going to work together to get these young folks to redefine what their value system is, what they stand for. And we're going to use the word epic, substitute it for the word great. So today at WowBiz Nebraska, what this is all about is dare to be epic. Dare to be epic. We're going to focus on the 4 letters in the word epic, E-P-I-C. Because when I talk to these people that are, I don't know, I'm not happy here, I hate the boss, everybody's real uptight, nobody really talks authentically, we don't get stuff done, people are making excuses. I actually talked to the owner of an engineering firm not long ago, and he had to let a few people go because sales were off a little bit, of course, during this pandemic period. And so there was a little bit of turbulence in their culture based upon some veterans leaving the business. But these 3 young millennials, had spoken to the CEO of this company individually, and each of them had volunteered that had they known what the company and the culture was really like, they would not have worked there. They would have chosen to not interview there, and they regretted being part of this company and its culture. And by the way, these were people that were remaining. I mean, these people had not been fired. They weren't leaving exactly, but they were unhappy, and they told the CEO that was the case. So these are the people that we're talking to. And instead of trying to put a Band-Aid over a cut, so to speak, and say, well, it's not really that bad, it'll be okay, we're going to come at it from a different perspective and say, you have an opportunity to embrace greatness by redefining your identity, what you stand for, who you really are. So I'm going to give you 3 words. Actually, I'm going to give you 12 words today in the next few minutes. So get your pen and paper out. And we're going to start with 3 words that begin with the letter E, of course, for epic. And you're going to define yourself by your choice of these 3 words. All right? It's not like one's good and one's bad or anything like that. You choose one of these 3 words that resonates with you, that kind of makes sense to you. You like this word. This is a word that you gravitate to. All right? And it's right here on my laptop computer. So those 3 words are, this is part of defining your value system. Experiment, that's the first E word, okay? Endure, that's very important. And then finally, expand. Let me say them again. Without thinking too hard about it, write down which one of those 3 words just seems right to you. It's a word that you believe in. Experiment, endure, or expand. Those are our 3 E words. All right, now we're going to go on to the P words. You're going to choose now. These are very important conscious choices that you are making. So the first P word is power. The second one is practice, very important. And the third one is passion. All right, I'll say them again. Power, practice, or passion. Choose one of those three words, write it down. That's the second word in your 4-word mantra, your assertion, kind of your individuality and your striving and acceptance. So the third set of words, they all begin with I, as in epic. We're at the I level right now. Intention, wow, it's big, right? Intuition and insight. Those are really cool words. Intention, intuition, and insight. So you're going to choose one of those three words, scratch it down right now. You now have 3 words in your mind or written down that are going to comprise your 4-word identity, your 4-word mantra, kind of what you're going to build your career and your sense of self-worth around. Okay, and the fourth one is C, right? Epic. These are the 3 C words you get to choose from. Curiosity, convergence, that's a really good one, and choice. Wow, this is a fantastic exercise. So now you should have 4 words, one beginning with E, beginning with P, beginning with I, and beginning with C. I want you to take a look at those 4 words right now. Just very quietly, just kind of gaze at them for a second and say, how can I weave these 4 words into my lifestyle, into my kind of my perspective of life, into my career? If I actually demonstrated all 4 of these words, those are my choices, and wove them together every day, said, I'm going to do these 4 things. Or I'm going to redefine my career and I'm going to move forward and I'll start chronologically maybe. Maybe I'll focus on experimenting and really weaving that into my life and being sensitive to allowing myself to experiment more. And then I'm going to practice. And then I'm going to really form a clear intention about going forward in my career. And then finally, curiosity maybe will be the thing. So I'm going to try to understand why I do the things I do, why others do the things that they do, and what it all means to me as I become this person. Not somebody that just had a good grade report from a university, not somebody that interviewed well, but somebody who is really here right now in this company and can build a sense of self-satisfaction every day. Did I do or exemplify these 4 words? Dare to be epic. Dare to be epic right here in WowBiz, Nebraska. We do some unusual things. I'm hoping that you're taking this exercise seriously because so many of us, I'm talking people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, are struggling with who am I at this point? Do I still have a job? Do I have a career? What am I aiming to become? Who am I? Dare to be epic, and you'll come up with the answer if you build it around your 4 words. All right, now, my name is Len Hinderrocker. I'm right here on WowBiz Nebraska. We're doing something a little bit unusual, something somewhat interactive, I guess. So I encourage you to get back to me, by the way. If you have some thoughts, send them to me, lynn@lynnhinderrocker.com, or go to Growth Dynamics, that's with an X.org, and send me a message through that website. And I appreciate your cooperation. Any feedback you can provide, very important to us right here at WowBiz Nebraska. You know, this particular show and all the thinking that goes into it, the studio, the people that are working here together, of course the backdrop and so on, it's all brought to you by our promotional sponsors. And at this point in the evolution of the curve, our promotional sponsor, and I'm proud to bring them up, is Jim Beatty Golf Ventures. Jim Beatty Golf Ventures, fascinating entrepreneur in the Omaha, Nebraska area, involved at a national level, by the way, in many activities, both in the world of golf as well as in the world of economic development. Jim Beatty is a classic entrepreneur. He's been in the Omaha area for a long time, but he works, frankly, nationally. And Jim Beatty Golf Ventures specifically helps, let me state this correctly, nonprofits, fundraising groups, cooperatives, organizations that are trying to attract members, bring people in, recruit, etc. Sometimes recruiting departments or HR departments within larger companies will utilize him. And he pulls together these golf ventures, these kind of activities. He organizes them, finds the facility, gets things organized, and of course, makes sure that the entire event kind of unfolds in a predictable way, but also kind of a fun and lively way. And you know, as we all know, the environment that you operate within is absolutely critical to the communication that you have. If you're not in a judgmental environment, everybody's just kind of hanging out, chatting, bringing things up, doing stuff together so that we're not just standing around looking at each other. People are actually trying to get from A to Z or get to the end of the course, obviously. And so all of this just kind of adds up to new, I want to say new energy. It sounds kind of metaphysical, but the notion that this person over here is talking about this, and then he's talking about that, and by the way, how's business? And the same thing is happening over here, and why don't you go ahead and tee off, and then we'll talk more about that later. You know, it's just an interesting place for energy to flow, relationships to form, subjects and topics to emerge that wouldn't emerge in a more formal environment or in some situation where you're just talking to somebody on the sidewalk, a neighbor in your area or something. This is a gently but very consciously choreographed kind of event. And Jim Beatty, frankly, is a very likable individual. He's been in the golf industry for a number of years. He's actually organizing a national event for the African American golf community. So he really is very knowledgeable in that context. You know, some of us get hooked into organizing an event and we don't know anything about the place that we're setting it up. We've never been there before. And that awkwardness shows, but that never happens with Jim Beatty. Now, once again, think about the strategy, the notion, the problems that you're going to overcome. You need money in your organization. You need recruits in your organization. You need people coming to you, but you don't want to have to solicit them or go pitch them hard. You want people to kind of come together in a kind of a collective consciousness, the notion that we are part of something together. All of that is possible if you find a guy like Jim Beatty, the Jim Beatty Golf Ventures. He is the catalyst. That's the best word you can describe for what he does, because it's far more than organizing something. It's actually creating a theme, a location, and injecting the right people, getting the right people together under the right circumstances. It's a really rare gift. Jim has that gift, so please look him up on the web. Jim Beatty, that's B-E-A-T-T-Y, Jim Beatty Golf Ventures. I promise you, if you're like those people I was just mentioning earlier, the groups that need to kind of pull new energy into their organization, golf outing with Jim Beatty. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again about Jim Beatty Golf Ventures the next time we get together right here on WowBiz Nebraska. Okay. Well, you know, it's a very exciting time, obviously, in the history of our company, or our country, rather, and it's also a time when people are evaluating their careers, as I was saying earlier in the show. And, you know, we look at our careers through a lens, and the lens is often our age and what we've done with our careers up to this point, right? We look at things through that very personal lens. And some of us have had a lot of setbacks and ups and downs, and some of us have resentment kind of built up inside of us that doesn't seem to ever dissipate, kind of puts us in a permanent bad mood. So it's a very interesting process that we're going through right now, because some people have kind of lost their jobs. Some people are furloughed, as they say. Other people are working very hard every day, signing in with Zoom and you know, getting a lot done, but kind of wondering what the future of the company is, and is this how it's always going to be? So there is a little bit of malaise, a little bit of confusion. I want to chat with you today about a problem that many people who are in their, we'll say in their 50s, in their 60s, their 70s even, are thinking about, especially at this particular time, as so many unusual indicators are kind of coming up in the news. Again, it seems to be a turbulent, shall we say, in our external reality. All right? So we don't seem that prepared, so to speak, for what's next. Nobody seems to know what's next, and so it kind of puts us in a mode where we're a little reflective. In fact, when we're under pressure, unpredictability would be the example, we have a tendency to kind of go to our past, don't we? We go backwards because we know that. We know what we did then. So those of you who are 50-ish, 60, 70 years of age, you know, let's start on the same common basis right here, okay? The same platform. In those days when you were a young person, you looked at your parents and said, what do I have to do? And, you know, where am I going? What's the plan? They would tell you that there were 3 R words, all right? Now I'm talking back in the 50s now, the 60s, 3 R words. You got to remember them. You got to get good at reading, writing, and arithmetic, all right? Those were the 3 R's that were kind of held up as the standard. You must strive to do well in those 3 areas. If you do that, you'll be fine. All right, think about that now for a second. You'll be fine. This is what you were told when you were 10, 15 years of age back in that era. All right, now there are 76 million baby boomers. Earlier in the show, we were talking about millennials and Gen X, but now we're talking about baby boomers. And these baby boomers are now being forced, shall we say, to make some new choices. They chose before to say, well, reading, writing, arithmetic, that's going to be it. That's what I was told by my parents. So here they are, many, many decades later, and they're being asked to make some new choices, and they're really not prepared to make those choices. Nobody has prepared them. The attitude is, well, you're an adult, so by now you should figure it all out. So here's what's going on in their minds, all right? Should I retire? What is retirement? What if we can't afford retirement? And even if I can afford it, and even if I've saved it, what am I supposed to do with all my time? I can only garden or fix the deck in back of the house so many times. What am I supposed to do with my life? And oh, by the way, what am I supposed to do with my parents who are in their 80s and they have all kinds of needs? Nobody prepared me to make an intelligent decision about that. And what about climate change? What about my grandbabies? Are they going to experience all this negative fallout because of the environment? And am I supposed to be doing something about it before I pass away? Is life at all getting any better? This is the big question, all right? Is there progress here? And by the way, what about technology? All right? Why do we need more technology? I can't keep up with what we have. I can't learn it all. I can't figure out what button to push when. And yet it seems like there's just an internal onslaught of new technology that we're all supposed to just weave into our life and move forward. And it's not that easy. So the answer, instead of reading, writing, arithmetic, we now have 3 new R's. 3 new R's. And the first one is revitalization. We're going to talk about that. Reinvention. All right, that goes a little bit further down the continuum, doesn't it? Revitalization's one thing. Reinvention's definitely something else. And then the third thing that we have to encounter and make a conscious decision about as baby boomers is rebirth. Rebirth. So revitalization, reinvention, and rebirth. Let's examine those 3 real quick. Now remember that we were brought up in an era where there were all kinds of basic things. We were misled, really. We were told that all these axioms I'm going to quickly share with you. This is how it is. This is how you act. This is what you strive to do when you come out of college and move into your job. Remember, command and control, hierarchy. The guy at the top tells you what to do, and it comes right down that way. Crap runs downhill, all right? So don't whine about being asked to do this or that. Just remember, if you're at the bottom of the hill, crap runs downhill. Do what the doctor says. And by the way, just take that straight line from college right up to middle management. That's where you go. That's how you make the money to buy the house in the suburbs, and that's how you live. Now, so we'll go back to revitalize. If you want to revitalize your life and you're in the 50s, 60s, 70s era, Your core responsibility is to see familiar things in a new light. That's the first idea, which will enable you to handle your choices better. Yeah. Now, if you say, I might be interested in reinventing. Baby boomers are like that. They have kind of an entrepreneurial streak, and they might be interested in that word. I want to reinvent myself. I'm 53, I'm 61, whatever, and I want to just reinvent myself. That's a new sense of identity. So revitalizing is all about what, right? But reinvention is all about who. Now, if you want to go all the way, right? You want to go through rebirth. You want to go through transformation, shall we say, then you're discussing why. So we go from what and who, and then finally we get to transformation, and we start asking the tough why questions like, why do I exist? Why do I feel this way? Why do I do things this way? And so on and so forth. So these are the three key concepts. I can't go into them in great depth right now, but it's a little bit like, this conversation is a little bit like watching Oprah on steroids, okay? Right? So think about these three phases. If you're in that age bracket, do I revitalize? Do I reinvent? Right? Or do I really embrace rebirth? These are three different notions, and they require a different perspective. But here's a key idea as we wrap up WowBiz Nebraska today. This is a time of reflection, right? To reflect on the notion that you are more than you think you are. There is more to you than you realize. And that this may be the time for you to surrender some beliefs that have held you back in the past. There's much more to this presentation, obviously, but we're going to wrap it up today for WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you so much for watching. It's an unusual show today. Make sure that you check out Jim Beatty Golf Ventures. He can help you organize a great golf event, raise some funds, and attract some members. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. I'll see you next time, possibly with Bruce Arendt, my favorite commentator in the world. He'll be with me, and we'll be doing some special things at that time as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on WowBiz Nebraska.